Hey guys, I'm Joe Drake, back to react to another episode of 90 Day Fiancé Self-Quarantined. I amped up my at-home set a little bit, I turned my light on, and I got some flowers, so I hope you all enjoy. I mean, I have nothing else to do but think about how to make this look nice. So let's start off with Laura, who kicked off the episode last night, and she was getting pretty real because she was talking about what else? Her vibrator. I do think it's really funny because let's face it, if you're not partnered up with someone in quarantine, it does bring up the conversation as to what to do and makes people think, when is the next time they're gonna have that kind of physical contact with someone? But she reminded us that all the single ladies out there don't have to worry, just order a vibrator. Also, she is apparently talking to a 25-year-old named Tony who lives in California. And here's the other thing that I loved. She doesn't really appreciate the fact that he calls her his love muffin. She doesn't think it's romantic, and all she says it does is make her want to crave an apple crumb muffin. No, I think love muffin is an endearing term, but I can relate because, to be honest, I was talking to someone on an online dating app recently and they called me kitten. A, I had never met them, and B, we're not even in a relationship yet, so I'm like, don't do that. Now, as for Dean, we saw him last night reveal that he has been stuck in the Philippines, which again just brings up, what if when this crisis happened, you were in a place that you don't really want to be? Even Laura was talking about it, about wanting to get back to the United States, but that's just not a possibility for everyone. Also, he's dealing with having to give and lend some money to Regan. He normally says he didn't have to support her when they first met, but now times are tough, so he has been having to lend some money, which also brings up the point, is it time to help those in need? I would say yes, of course. If you have friends and family that could use your help and you're able to give it, please do so. As for Anna and Marcel, I thought this part was a little bit boring, but I was happy to hear that they are learning each other's languages. Now, Marcel is learning a lot more English, and Anna has actually taken up learning Turkish. Again, in quarantine like this, might as well start a hobby that you didn't have time for before. I know my roommate is actually trying to learn a little French. I mean, might as well, right? They did admit that having less one-on-one time with the kids around is affecting their intimacy. It looks like Anna should be taking advice from Laura and order herself a vibrator. Now, moving on to Avery and Omar, they are also separated because he is stuck in Syria. Now, they did reveal that they talk on FaceTime for about 2 or 3 hours a day. Now, I do have to admit, in 2020, it is nice to have all of this technology while we're in quarantine to keep us entertained, but those long Zoom calls, those FaceTimes, the longer they go on, the more tedious they get, and it's just really frustrating not having that face-to-face contact. Now, granted, having someone in another country, something like FaceTime is a complete lifesaver, so good for them. Also, I think another great lesson from this story, especially from Omar, is that he has convinced her to make amends with her biological father, who happens to be in prison. He was saying it doesn't really matter what he did, that she shouldn't take advantage of the situation that her father is alive and there, even if he is in prison, and that they should figure out a relationship. I think this is just really good advice in general, now that people have time to reflect inside quarantine, to evaluate the relationships they have with other people and think, is it worth it to have bad blood with them, or should we just make amends and move on? Now, last but not least, they ended the show with Brett and Daya, and I thought this was a really good way to end the show because it's the very simple fact that Brett admitted he took his time with Daya for granted. And isn't that what we're all learning in this time? We're all reflecting on our relationships, we're reflecting on the things we took for granted. So I think it's really nice to hear something like that from Brett, just focusing on everyone's day-to-day lives and having a happy and healthy relationship. I hope everybody is staying safe and staying healthy out there, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.